faculty know what a face-to-face course looks like, and all of us have become at least a little familiar with what a synchronous online course looks like through Zoom. Many faculty have also become familiar with what an asynchronous online course looks like through Top and Top to Go. However, hybrids are a little bit more of a mystery. A few of us have been offering the classic type of hybrid course, but due to the need for social distancing in the coming semester, it will be difficult to run that type of course. So this video will provide you with 3 new types of hybrid courses for your consideration that comply with current social distancing restrictions. The bright side is that exploring these new models will help us find better ways to teach that we would not have seen if it weren't for this change. Let's walk through the standard course formats to put this in context. On our campus, an average face-to-face course meets twice a week for an hour and 15 minutes each time, for a total of 2 hours and 30 minutes of instruction a week, as in this screenshot. For the rest of this video, I'm going to be using the Tuesday-Thursday face-to-face class as a basis for comparison. In this screenshot, the 2 blue blocks signal the classroom time. A classic hybrid course meets weekly, but half the time these students are in the classroom, and then half of the class instruction is provided through structured online activities that give the student the rest of that week's instruction. In the past, our college has often scheduled these by taking a normal Tuesday-Thursday class scheduling block and creating 2 separate classes, with one full class on the Tuesday and a different class on the Thursday, as in this English 100 example. This fits in with the normal scheduling on our campus. As far as content, a classic hybrid can be done in one of 2 basic ways. In one way, the lecture is provided in the class section, along with student Q&A, and the online portion provides active learning situations for the student to apply what they've learned in the lecture. In the other way, the students will watch a video and a few other activities online prior to class, the equivalent of doing the lecture portion online, which prepare them for the face-to-face session in which they will do the active learning exercises, often in groups. The hybrid delivery mode allows our face-to-face time to be used more effectively, supporting multiple learning styles, providing us with the opportunity to encourage time management skills, and encouraging more teaching and learning flexibility. In the classic hybrid, all of the students show up in the classroom at the same time, which is why the classic hybrid is not a good fit for situations where social distancing is required, as most classrooms have students seated much closer together than is now permitted. The campus has come up with 3 new broader variations on this classic hybrid to decrease the number of students in a classroom at any one time. You may be able to come up with another variation not mentioned here. Please check these alternatives with your department chair. But let's go over these 3 new categories first. The first new hybrid variation is the dual delivery method. The hallmark of this option is the faculty member teaching both face-to-face and on Zoom at the same time. In this method, a specified number of students will be able to show up in the classroom on Tuesday. The number will be limited by the college's previously determined maximum capacity for safe social distancing. The rest of the students will be at home, viewing and participating in the class at the same time through Zoom. This is the closest to the regular face-to-face course delivery, as it echoes the structure of the typical twice-weekly face-to-face class. The dual delivery instructor will start each week's lesson on Tuesday, delivering half then, and completing the lesson on Thursday. The instructor will need to create only a limited amount of additional online materials, such as digital counterparts for materials distributed in class, like a quiz that's required to be taken in class or a handout to be filled in. Which students come face-to-face and which students Zoom? You may assign the groups, or you may decide that creating 2 CRNs provides the most clarity to students on what to expect regarding when to come to campus. Regardless of the number of CRNs, it's all considered one course. The students could switch modes every class or every week. Either Tuesday's face-to-face students become Thursday's Zoom students, and Tuesday's Zoom students will show up face-to-face in Thursday's classroom, or week 1's face-to-face half of the class becomes week 2 Zoom students, while the week 1 Zoom students become the week 2 face-to-face students. It is not recommended that the students be allowed to freely switch between the face-to-face and Zoom classes due to the problems that could occur if too many students try to come into the face-to-face portion. The instructor should also be prepared for the students who are supposed to come to the face-to-face session, but instead choose to participate through Zoom. This could make the face-to-face sessions skimpy at times. Depending on the subject being taught, this type of hybrid does not necessarily require additional classroom technology, such as a camera focused on the instructor. Usually, the instructor's camera, the one that the Zoom students would see, would be focused on their slides, the whiteboard, document, or other course materials. So typically there is no need for a separate camera setup that is focused on just the instructor's face. Of course, this need varies by subject. Some courses may need a second camera for the instructor, and this should be taken into consideration when scheduling this type of course as a hybrid. The dual delivery hybrid has its challenges. The primary one is that it is difficult for an instructor to both keep an eye on the students in the face-to-face classroom and the online Zoom classroom. There is a tendency to pay less attention to the remote students who feel literally overlooked by the instructor who is looking past the computer and into the faces of the students in the live classroom. Without particular care paid to these remote students, it is likely that they will either become disgruntled or disengaged. Not every instructor may be up for the challenge of teaching two different pools of students at the same time equally. If you can't be sure that you would treat both groups of students equitably, this would not be the right kind of hybrid for you. The second variation hybrid is the hybrid sync scheduled, also known as the double hybrid variation. The hallmark of this variation is giving each group of students half the week in a face-to-face experience at different times, supplemented with substantial asynchronous online instruction. In this model, half the students, up to the mandated maximum, attend the Tuesday class, and the other half, again, up to the mandated maximum, attends the Thursday class. Nobody zooms in. The instructor would repeat the instruction in each of the face-to-face classes and then create an online part 2 for both sets of students. This hybrid eliminates the problem of having the instructor trying to focus on both the face-to-face students and the remote students at the same time. The instructor just focuses on the students who are in the classroom at the scheduled time. However, this creates additional work for the faculty member as, once the face-to-face instruction is done for the week, both sets of students will need additional online materials that completes that week's lesson. Remember that a face-to-face course provides 2.5 hours of instructional content through its classroom structure, while a hybrid only provides 1 hour and 15 minutes. If you choose this option, how will you create the other hour and 15 minutes of educational opportunities? This additional information could be videos, could be interactive activities such as Padlet or Flipgrid, or could be other types of activities relevant to your subject. It could even be a pre-recorded Zoom session, as long as it was offered asynchronously. However you do it, there is no denying that this is extra work for the faculty member, as they need to offload whatever they would normally have talked about or done in the second half of the face-to-face session to the online format. This will exceed the normal course preparation time, and the union is being consulted on this impact on our contract. Check with your department chair for the latest word on this. There's also a challenge for timing assessments so that the Tuesday students don't get a 2-day head start on the Thursday students for the quizzes, assignments, and discussions. There is the final challenge of having the instructor make sure that they cover the same material in the Tuesday and the Thursday face-to-face sessions, so that both sets of students have the same basic information so that they can complete the online portion of the course. The third variation is the hybrid sync variable time version, in which the majority of instruction is moved online, either synchronously or asynchronously, but due to the demands of the subject, face-to-face meetings are required at varying, infrequent times. The face-to-face meetings could be labs, clinicals, or other select key tasks. In some math classes, for example, the instruction could be all online, but the students may be required to come in on specific days, listed in class availability, to take proctored exams in the classroom. The issue with version 3 is that when the face-to-face meetings are required, the instructor will have to use one of the first two variations to hold that face-to-face meeting, as having a whole class meet in person would be likely to violate the mandated maximum amount of students in the classroom. Another issue for the faculty to consider thoughtfully is the impact of this type of hybrid on students who need to have a certain amount of face-to-face courses, such as veterans and international students. At the time this video was created, there was a specific exemption for vet students as long as the course was properly labeled C19. This may not be the case in future semesters. It was also not clear whether a hybrid sync variable time version would meet the international students' requirements, as the majority of educational opportunity would be online. Check with your department chair for the latest word from the federal government if you are considering this third option. You know your course best and may be able to come with other variations. For example, one variation on dual delivery could be where half the class meets face-to-face every week on a regular schedule, while the other half completes the work asynchronously through prepared materials, not live synchronously through Zoom. Another is splitting the class so that in week 1, half the class shows up in person on Tuesday for the course introduction, and on Thursday, the other half shows up for the introduction. But for the majority of content delivery for the rest of the semester, all the students meet on Tuesday and Thursday at 3:15 for a remote synchronous Zoom session for class discussion, and after, work in groups in their breakout rooms. Be creative in thinking about how best to offer your course. You should note that no matter which of these new hybrid variations you choose, or your own new variation, it is going to be difficult for you to require the students to engage in the same type of active learning activities that you were able to do in the past. There is just a different dynamic between activities such as Share, Pair, Square, with small groups of students putting their heads together, and students with masks on shouting at each other from 6 feet away. No one would be satisfied with a game of telephone in the place of meaningful discussion. It may well be that your students can participate more meaningfully in group work through Zoom breakout rooms, which would allow them to collaborate in small private groups over a shared document or shared experience. The value of synchronous online sessions as a way to replicate small and large group work should not be underestimated. No one knows what to expect for the future, but it may be that what you create this semester, you will use again the following semester. Explore these hybrid concepts to benefit your future teaching, even when social distancing is no longer an issue. Quick recap. Dual delivery is where the instructor must keep an eye on both face-to-face and online students during the live lesson, but it has a weekly pace similar to face-to-face and relatively little online materials to be created by the instructor. Hybrid synced scheduled, where all the students meet face-to-face with the instructor for the same live lesson content, puts more of the burden on the instructor to create the other half of the weekly lesson. Hybrid sync variable, where most of the work is online, either synchronous or asynchronous, has students who meet face-to-face for selected key tasks, but again requires the faculty to create a larger proportion of online materials. So there you have it. I hope this video was helpful. Good luck in creating and revisioning your course.